All right, greetings, greetings, greetings. The name of that song is called Keep Shining by a Rwandan-born, Canada-based MC by the name of Shad, S-H-A-D. I will put that in the chat a little bit later for folks that want to find the link and check the music it's always a good opportunity to share. And so again, I do want to welcome everyone to our session this evening. My name is Tafari Melisizwe. I am on the communications team for the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund, and we are very excited and very grateful to be here on today on this very important session in this very important month as we transition from Black History Month to Women's History Month. And I think any day and every day is a great time and day to celebrate Black people and Black women. And so I'm glad that we're having this really important discussion with moms and Baltimore brothers and others. And so we are going to get into it. So this is, again, session 4. So we've had 3 previous ones, and I'll share a brief calendar about what's happened previously and what's happening in the near future if you are interested and like what you see tonight, which I imagine that you will. And tonight's session, again, is called Engagement of Women and Girls on Community-Based Violence. And this is a little bit about what this series is. It's a product of a partnership between BCYF and Baltimore Brothers. And it has emerged out of a critical need for more hope, and not just hope in a I hope things get better sense, but a hopefulness that's rooted in a practice of community making, of healing and building healthy opportunities, especially for Black children, adolescents, youth, to build together, to share together, to really connect with each other, and connect to resources that can help transform life outcomes and community outcomes. This requires, as I said, better relationships among those who are working to create opportunities for their families, their neighborhoods, so on and so forth. So BCYF and Baltimore Brothers have organized a series of workshops and technical assistance sessions to transfer information, expertise, and experience, and help foster relationships, infrastructures, and resources that will create and expand pathways to success for Baltimore's youth, children, and their families. And so as we continue talking, Shore Captain Andrew, you'll get a feel for Baltimore Brothers. And on paper, Baltimore Brothers is the mission of Baltimore Brothers is to design, implement, and coordinate strategies and initiatives to reduce crime in Baltimore City by using astute resourcefulness and leveraging community assets and relationships. And if you are not familiar with Baltimore Brothers, the work they do is incredible, and you can get a taste of some of that tonight. Captain Andrew is joining us. And a little bit about us. Again, this is really about the partnership and the work and the conversation that's about to happen, not so much about who is BCYF or who is Baltimore Brothers, because we're really about the work. But who BCYF is, for those that may not know, we are a nonprofit organization stewarding public funds to ensure that our children and youth are healthy, ready to succeed in school, and live in stable, safe, and supportive families and communities. And so that's who we are, and this is where we are. And so we've had a few events that have been going on over the last month. The ones that are scratched out are the ones that have happened so far, from reducing impacts of community violence on the school, in the school environment, to breaking the cycle, gang activity among youth. We're on today, the engagement of women and girls on community-based violence. And as you see in those in-between sessions, there are small group breakouts where we get to do a deep dive into the content that you all are going to be exposed to tonight. So saying on the front end, as we get into this very powerful discussion this evening, this is not where it's going to end. This is actually in some ways a kickoff point. And so again, take notes, please participate, bring your questions, your queries, your conundrums, all of those things to that session on Friday, because that'll be the place to really workshop those things out. And I'll put this link in the chat, but to find out where to register for all of these things, very simply, you can go to bcyffund.org/events. And all of the information for this and all of the upcoming sessions are going to be there. And so with that being said, I'm going to prepare to close my mouth and pass it to the very capable hands of Captain Andrew who will continue with the introductions and then with the session proper. So again, thank you all for coming. Glad to be here. And Captain Andrew, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and the floor is yours, brother.
Man, thank you very much, Brother Tafari. I appreciate that. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank BCYF for hiring Baltimore Brothers and giving us an opportunity to share our vision, our expertise, and the love that we have for our people, our city, and the communities at large. So I'm honored. This is a pleasure for us. As I always say, you know, if I'm not nervous, you know, I know God can use me. So I take this very serious, and you know, just being very transparent. You know, we're sick and tired of this violence that's happening in our city. Sometimes you feel like, you know, when is it going to stop? What more can I do? How can I do it? So I'm thankful for BCYF and creating this format, because this is one way that we can help stop some of this violence, some of this killing towards our, specifically our women and girls. So I just want to give a little background about Baltimore Brothers. We initially started the Baltimore Brothers officially in 2015, directly after Freddie Gray. We've been doing work in the community in our city for 21 years now, and we officially started Baltimore Brothers in 2015, directly after the Freddie Gray uprisings. And we've been committed to doing work in the prisons, in the juvenile justice systems, in the schools, the hospitals, the churches, the streets. We work with any and everybody that want change and sick and tired of this violence. So it's an honor to be here doing this training, these sessions with such great leaders. And I just want to speak about the panelists real quick, because we have, I have been working with these wonderful leaders, some of them 20 years, some of them 15 years, some of them 10 years, some of them 5 years, some of them 2 and 3 years. But all of these women are leaders. All of them have followers. All of them have people that they teach and train and counsel and give therapy to. Some of them go back into the women prison. Some of them go into the juvenile justice system. Some of them work with women that's been, you know, for lack of a better word, been mishandled. But they do great works, and I'm proud to be a part of these women. I'm proud to be a part of their organizations and the work that they do every single day in our community. And they some of the unsung heroes that a lot of us don't know about. So I'm glad they're getting the opportunity to share some of that story, some of that training, and some of their some of the things that they do every single day. I can't forget the gentleman that helped work with me for months on preparing this, the preparation, the organizing, the structure, which is Dr. Phil Leaf, who Doc has been an awesome partner of Baltimore Brothers, and he's known throughout the city. And you know, I just want to thank Doc, you know, on behalf of Baltimore Brothers and the work that he does for our city. He does a lot of work that you don't see. And Doc, we'll be hearing from Doc, of course. Doc has been there since the very beginning. So thank you, Dr. Leaf. So first and foremost, we want to introduce our panelists, and I want to start with Sister Chanel, who I've been working with the longest. I have a great relationship with her husband, her family. I know her personally from the last 20 years. And she's one of them individuals that you won't hear about. She's one of them leaders that somebody will have to tell you, Sister Chanel is counseling me and my daughter. Sister Chanel is giving us therapy. Sister Chanel has did an excellent job with her women's program, teaching and training young girls and women. And she's hands-on. If something is wrong in the city, in the community, doesn't make a difference what it is. It could be carjacking, rape, murder, whatever it is, she'll call me, especially if it's personal or something that's really bothering her. She'll call me. And of course, I'm going to answer the phone and I'm going to find out what I can do. So I just want our beautiful Sister Chanel, just take a few minutes to introduce yourself, Sister Chanel. Let this beautiful audience. Oh yeah, before I forget, I want to say happy National Women's Month. To all of our women, mothers, and leaders, happy National Women's Month, and what a timely subject to deal with, women and girls in community-based violence. So thank you, Sister Chanel. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. First, I want to give honor to God for bringing me through my own personal experiences, that I can be a testimony to someone else that is going through trauma, trying to recover from trauma. My name is Sister Chanel, as Brother Andrew said. I'm the proud owner, CEO of Think Coaching and Consulting and Sisters Growing Together. I have been working with women and girls probably for about the last 30 years. I'm very involved in the community, and my goal is to help women to heal and to recover. We know that women are the first teachers, and unless we can have women healthy and whole, what we produce will not be healthy and whole. And so I'm a firm believer that we have to start from elementary school in teaching our girls not just to respect themselves, but the bond of sisterhood, that we can bond together and help each other survive the actual societal norms that are not normal for us. And when I say that, we're constantly in a situation as women where we are competing to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. And sometimes it takes a village of women to build another woman up. And so that's the goal, to create a sisterhood in a village where other women, when they are going through things, can actually find peace, find respite, find help, and find hope to be able to continue to grow and heal beyond their own trauma. So I'll leave it at that because we have a whole 2 hours and I can keep going, but we'll come back.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I expect that from you all, because all of these leaders have something to share, and we believe that the women are the key. I just think we're missing that. That's one of the keys to our solutions, is these women, and really multiple women that could have been up here, but we chose these 5, and we're honored to have them up here. So thank you, Sister Chanel. So next is Miss Monica. Miss Monica, can you hear me? Monica,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I want to introduce you properly. I've been working with Monica, I want to say about 5 or 6 years now. And I was surprised when I first met her, because she's very aggressive. And but I love that. I love that because I didn't know who she was. I didn't know where she was from, but she can speak about her own history. But what I do know is, what I did love about Monica was the love and the commitment and dedication. She just had to change. It wasn't just about women, it was about young men as well. And I was very impressed, and I'm honored to work beside her. And this is why, and I just want to say, all of these leaders on this line, on this webinar, was handpicked. Didn't nobody tell us about them? Didn't nobody say she would be a good choice? We handpicked these women because the work that they do each and every day. So Monica is a jewel for our city, and I thank God that she had the time to share, because she has a lot to share. So go right ahead, Monica. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. And yes, I can be a little, I guess, aggressive and a little bit assertive, because I feel like we, right now, as human beings, as a city and as a state, it kind of feel like some days we're on our last leg. It feels like if we don't jump in assertively and aggressively, we are done. So I don't, have a lot of time for the foolishness. I like to get straight down to it. Look, this is what we got to do, and we got to do it now. And if there's anybody in a listening audience that don't recognize the expediency of what's going on, you might not even want to be here. If anybody in a listening audience don't understand the urgency of now, then you probably shouldn't even be here, to be honest with you. And I'm just keeping it 100. And in keeping it 100, I am Monica Cooper, the founder and executive director of the Maryland Justice Project. We work with women and girls incarcerated and formerly incarcerated, and we work with that particular population, is because that has been my life and my experience. It took me a long time, honestly, and we can get back to that, but it took me a long time to be able to say that I'm formerly incarcerated because of the stigma, because of everything. Just like I couldn't get a job, just so much to go along with it, to say, yeah, I made a mistake in my life. It took me a long time to just openly say that. But I got past that. I ran for elected office. I got elected. I am been moving forward with my life, and I no longer allow my past to define my future. It's hard to shake those things, those mistakes, and those errors that you made. And I know that that's one of the things, especially being a woman and being an emotional creature. No matter how assertive and aggressive I am, I'm still a woman, and physiologically, my mind and my thinking is of a certain way, and I know how difficult it is to be in situations and to make rational decisions, because I made some very irrational decisions, and it really had a whole lot to do with a whole bunch of other stuff that was going on in my life. But I'll, like Sister Chanel said, I won't take up a whole lot of time. But that's who I am, a Democratic Central Committee member for the 40th District. Thanks for electing me. I might run for re-election. Thanks to the 40th District voters, registered voters who came out to vote for me. Yeah, and that's just where I'm at now. We really got to
Excellent,
be
excellent.
aggressive and assertive, yeah, about what we're doing.
Thank you, thank you. And trust me, you all gonna want to hear from Monica because she has a lot to say. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate that. And our next leader is going to be Miss Lisa, who I just recently met. I want to say about, man, really, I met with Lisa some years back. She was doing some youth events, and she hired my security team some years ago. And then maybe like I want to say 2.5 years ago or something like that, we connected again. And I didn't even know that was her. And I had her number in my phone. So I'm like, man, so God moves in mysterious ways, right? So anyway, this young lady, man, she's a worker bee. She has her own little team of young people that she teach and train every single day on life skills, how to conduct themselves in the community as it relates to teen dating, violence. I mean, she covers so much, and she gives her students stipends, and her team, they don't leave her. They don't leave her. Them young people, they love her. We partner every single week. We do work together, and I really appreciate her partnership. And when you have people like that works just as hard as you got to keep them beside you, because it's relationships and partnerships is going to get us through this violence, right? And we have to work together. And I'm honored to be able to introduce Miss Lisa Moloch. Go right ahead, Lisa Moloch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Kat, for the introduction. I'm Lisa Moloch, as Kat says. I'm the executive director and founder of Let's Thrive Baltimore. That is all youth ran. And I want to shout out to my youth that's on here, our youth, because it takes a village. That's right. That's on here now. So I work with young people that most of the young people I work with have been directly or indirectly affected by violence. If you live in Baltimore City, whether you've lost someone to gun violence or not, you're impacted by gun violence. And so we work on healing activities. We work on where we have youth to do trainings and panel discussions for their peers. I train them up, and then they pass the information on that I train them and build them into leaders to their peers and help them to become leaders. A lot of the young women and girls that I work with has also been traumatized. We've all been through a lot of adverse childhood experiences. Me, myself, as a young girl, I've been impacted by dating violence, human trafficking violence, gun violence, where I had to jump out of a third-story window to prevent myself from being shot. I've had guns put to my head. I've had guns go off in my car. I've had an ex-boyfriend shoot at my home. So I've been impacted by every violence that there is. And that's why it's so important for me to reach out to young people, young girls, women, and their parents. I grew up in a home with just my mom. And a lot of the young girls that I work with, and their parents are single parents. And, so that's why it's my duty to provide solutions for these parents so that they can be able to prosper and heal. So you'll hear a lot more about what we do as we go on. I don't want to take up a lot of time on the introduction, but I just wanted to tell you all just a little bit about me. And one more thing to piggyback on what Monica said, I used to be ashamed of my past, that I've been to prison and that, I've been through abuse and traumatized, but I'm not ashamed anymore. I want you to tell her. I want you to tell her. And I want you to tell him what I've been through. But Lord, look at me now. Thank you. Only through the grace of God.
Man, that was beautiful right there, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm so proud to be on this line right now. And I really want to give God all the credit, because to hear these young ladies talk like this, man, it means a lot. And I believe this is going to be one of the best sessions that we had. I am so looking forward to these solutions and stories and information that we can help train our city and how we can connect the dots. So thank you again, Miss Lisa. So this next young lady, she has really the perfect name for her organization. And I just recently start calling her moms. And Miss Daphne, who I met Miss Daphne in a community, and she was doing work. She had lost her son, and I was so like, she really touched me. She really touched me when she lost us. She talking about her son and how that allowed her to want to give back and help other mothers out. And then I kept seeing her. Then I kept seeing her. Then I kept seeing her. And every time, she had a new message for our people and the mothers. And then, Miss Daphne is like a mother to me. And I'm gonna always support her because I know she cares. She lives in Harford County, but she be in Baltimore City. You'll never know. You would never know she lives in Harford County. So I'm honored to have Miss Daphne on. And I'm great friends with her son, her other son, Malik, who does great work for Boys and Girls Club and in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Miss Daphne?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, go right ahead, Miss Daphne.
Good evening, everyone. I just want
Good
to
evening.
thank everybody for tuning in, and thank Brother Captain Andrew and Dr. Philip Lee for believing in me and the work that I try to do, in the community, especially in Baltimore City. Again, I'm from Harford County. I was born and raised in Turner Station, was a little country by itself, so I'm not too much on crime and violence, drugs, anything. Thank God I never was exposed to anything like that. I got married, I had my 2 children, and I moved to Harford County, to build my home. And life was good job, nice cars, nice house, and all that. And then one day, my life had changed in like, just a minute. My son went to a party at the Joplin Magnolia Fire Station, which is in a little country fire station, where you rent the hall at. And someone called my home and said that Tyreek has been shot. So I said, Tyreek has been shot. I said, hang that phone up and stop playing. This is not funny. I don't play like this. It was a young man on the phone. I said, if you see Tyreek, tell him, I said, get in here, because I'm shutting these doors up as soon as he get in here. And so I got a little nervous, and then I waited a few minutes, and then the phone rang again 15 minutes later, and that was his girlfriend on the phone telling me, yes, he was shot at the party. So I told my husband, of course, he went to the scene, and then Tariq was dead within an hour. So I was just in shock, total disbelief. My first thing is, I really want to get on this, is because we live in the counties, and people like us think that we're exempt from gun violence and trauma and drugs and stuff. And I want to shed some light on that in our communities, that we're here, it's here now. How are we going to tackle this issue now? I'm experienced with it now. And my co-founder, Ms. Mildred Sammy, her son was murdered. And I think we ended up with like 12 murders, and then it just like cut off for a while. So we brought attention to the community about, we have trouble out here. Let's get in front of this so we can try to eradicate some of this. So I use my story to help others. And then I said, wow, it was many days I couldn't call my mother, my sisters, my brother, my girlfriends. Nobody knew exactly the pain that I was in. People want to quote me Bible scriptures and stuff like that. It wasn't working. I'm like, perhaps maybe I want to be around other women and fathers who are just like me, who going through what I'm going through. So that's how the Moms Organization was started. So again, that's my story. I fell in love with some of mine in Baltimore City. I felt the need to come from Hartford County to go to Baltimore City where the most need was. Besides, I worked in the city for 40 some years, and I became friends with a lot of people there. And of course, my mother lives there, my sister. So I felt the need to be there. And I think people from all around the counties and everywhere should put some effort into coming to help our sisters and brothers in Baltimore City until we can find our way out of this. So I'd like to say again, thank you for hearing me, and hope to be able to talk to you a little later. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Daphne. And trust me, we will. We're gonna need your expertise on how you deal with that situation, because we got a lot of people on the line that may have lost a loved one or know a loved one that's been lost, and how do you handle that? So thank you for that, Ms. Daphne. And our last introduction is going to be Miss Ebony, Pastor Ebony, who been knowing Pastor Ebony for some years now. We both used to work at the Marriott. We both was directors at the Marriott, and now she's a general manager, and a pastor and a mother and a babysitter and a teacher and a trainer and a doctor and a lawyer. Miss Ebony does it all. Pastor Ebony does it all. And I'm honored and proud to work beside her. She's been very supportive of several movements that I'm involved with, and vice versa. And I have to say this, it doesn't make a difference what happens in the city, where it happens in the city. If she don't know about it, she'll call me. And you have to have partners when we're dealing with violence, because we can't take this on by ourselves. Amen. And Ebony and Miss Pastor Ebony is an excellent partner for us, and I'm honored to know Miss Ebony. So go right ahead, Ebony. Okay. Thank you.
First of all, good evening, and I truly give all honor to God, and thank you, Cap and Dr. Phil, and the ladies. Just a little about myself. Yes, I am the pastor of the greatest church in Baltimore, New Solid Rock. I've been in ministry for 19 years, and being in ministry, you have to have a passion for people. And I think that I was just born to have a passion for people. And my goal for so many years is to let young people know that it's not where you live, it's how you live. And I say that being a pastor, I deal a lot with young people. And one thing that our young people need, they just need that mother. They need someone that's going to listen to them. I started a nonprofit in 2009. It was called Your Choice for a Better Change, dealing with youth and young adults in the city. And I'm currently the founder of Hope, helping other people everywhere. And I'm just trying to do whatever I can to reach out to our young people and let them know that it's time to live and not die young. It's, and as I think Sister Monica mentioned, that is an urgency. And I'm excited to be a part of this panelist on tonight. And I'm believing that some young lady, the experience that each one of us experienced, that we're gonna set and save some young lady once they finish listening to our story. So that's just a little about me.
Thank you. Yes, and I know you have a wealth of knowledge to help us get through tonight, but this is going to be a power-packed training session. Dr. Phil, can you unmute yourself? Hey, Doc, just give us an overview, Doc, of what we've been doing over the last 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, so the people to know where we at, some of the new people who hasn't been on, and bring us up right to the date, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
Sure. So one of the reasons that the Youth Fund reached out to Baltimore Brothers is the long time and extensive work that they've been doing, but not just as Baltimore Brothers. As you've seen, Captain Andrew talked about working with some of the people on this Zoom for 20 years. It's not that, so that we're really dedicated for increasing the relationships. And one of the things that's going to be happening is the Youth Fund is going to be releasing its request for funding proposals. And we want to make sure that efforts to reduce violence and the consequences of violence to get funded. And that's why we have a whole series of things. We've had people who essentially did wrong things before and have changed their lives, and how you can be engaging with them as important people. We've had the impact of violence on the schools and talked about how all kinds of violence, not just in the school, but even more importantly, outside the schools and the kind of, the environments that many of our young people are growing in need to be dealt with. And so it's as important both to listen to what you're hearing tonight, but what we also want people through the chat room for coming next Friday for the technical assistance to be reaching out and developing relationships with other folks, but not just how you could be using these other folks, how can they be benefiting from the work that you're doing? That one of the things that Captain talked about is, we always hear all the bad stuff about Baltimore. And what you've already heard in a very short period of time is really good. I mean, people are working really hard. They've saved lots of lives. They themselves have turned their own lives around, and they've turned many other people's lives around. So again, how do we all get together in Baltimore, support each other, work on these things? And I think that both this session today, but the remaining sessions, and again, the other ones are on the webinars. You can go on the Youth Fund website and watch these things. And then certainly getting in touch with Baltimore Brothers for follow-ups if you think that there's some relationships that you could be establishing with them or any of the other presenters. We want to be encouraging creating relationships.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Doc. That was awesome. Thank you for that, Doc. That's why we need you in the team. Appreciate you. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Please, audience participants, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat room, please, and we're going to get right to you. So once again, I want to thank I want to thank all the women. This National Women's Month. So whatever that means to you, I want to just say thank you. I just want to say thank you, because if you're on this line, that means you want change, and you probably a change agent more than likely. So thank you very much for every woman. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, one of the questions that we had, as it relates to the violence in our women and girls is, over the last couple of years, our city, unfortunately, has been averaging over, I want to say, between 40 and 60 murders and over 90 women shot, women and girls. And I had no idea because, we were so focused on the shooting of men, young men for that matter. And I wasn't even thinking about women, to be honest with you. And most of us, especially men, I believe you probably could say the same thing, that women wasn't even thought of in regards to being involved in violence and shootings and murders and the list goes on, drug dealing, et cetera, 5-6 years ago, but it's changed. And it's like, the streets are the streets. You have women carrying it just like drug dealers, some of them setting people up and shooting each other. And every time you turn around, women are being murdered and being gunned down and being shot. And, it's very painful. It's very painful to hear that a grandmother has been shot and murdered because she was on the porch and they couldn't get to her grandson. So they murdered her, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But the stats don't lie, when you have 40, 50 something women being murdered and almost 100 and something women being shot, and, we have to change that, and we have to do it immediately. So I want to start with Sister Chanel, and we have to tackle this from every aspect, because it's just not one area that needs to be fixed. It's multiple areas that we have to deal with this piece as it relates to the women and girls and violence. So first question for you, Sister Chanel, is what is one piece of practical advice you would give to a mother concerned about her daughter? and other female youth involved with violence or becoming a victim of violence? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Apologies.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things I would like to share is Pastor Ebony had a brilliant idea, and she blessed me to participate. Just a few weeks ago, we had a meeting with women, and the number of women that stood up and told their story of abuse, rape, mental, physical abuse, it was overwhelming. And a lot of times in our community, we talk about generational, people sometimes have these things like, oh, you have generational families that grow up in public housing. You have generational families that go to jail. You have generational families that have drug addiction. But we never talk about the generational violence, because as women, we've been made to feel ashamed, and we hold those things secret out of fear, out of shame. And so we don't share those stories. And it's, we'll tell someone how to get a package and sell drugs. We'll tell someone how to go get a car. We'll tell someone how to make money, but we don't tell someone how to save their life. We don't tell girls how to prevent themselves from being raped. We don't tell our girls, and I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about mothers. We don't tell our daughters about the stories we went through as a preventive measure. And so they have no yardstick to guide their lives by. So when they meet these young men and there are red flags, they don't know the red flags because no one taught them about the red flags. Mm. And so we have to take the stigma and shame out of abuse, that we are afraid to speak up and to tell our stories. And so generational secrets cause generational trauma. And so if I had any piece of advice for women in general, it is to start to talk about our stories in a very public way, that they can be learning lessons for others coming behind us not to repeat them.
Man, that's deep. And this is why we're having this conversation right now. And I thank God it's being recorded, because we want to use this as a study and a curriculum to help other, young women across the city, really across the country. But thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. So Sister Monica, you up next. And so Monica, you was in the streets, you went to prison. You know about this violence that's taking place. I mean, hands-on. And I really don't need to ask you another question, but I really do want you to talk about the question that we just mentioned, because like a lot of mothers and older sisters and grandmothers, they don't know how to handle their teenage girls. They don't, they can't control them. They don't know what to do. So how do a mother, a grandmother, an older sister, when you have a young girl that's in the 12th grade or 11th grade, or just graduated or didn't graduate, and her boyfriend may be involved in drugs, her friends may be involved in drugs, and she's not listening, what kind of guidance or some of the things you went through? How do we help them young girls that's going the wrong way?
Well, I can say from my personal experiences that, and I had mentioned it before, is that it boils down to relationships. Just like young men need, with a capital N, need relationships with males. They need relationships with their fathers. Young boys need relationships with males. Vice versa with women. Young girls, 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, need relationships with their mothers. And when your mother breaks the bond and the trust, that's just like God has deceived you. When you are hurt by your mother, that's like God has let you down.
Yes, ma'am. Take your time. Take your time. We're not going to rush you. Take your time. Thank you for that. Just we listening. Take your time. Get your thoughts together. Take your time. That's why this is important. That's why this is important. Take your time. We're gonna finish with you. We're not going nowhere. Take your time.
Yeah, I was saying that when that relationship between the mother and the daughter and the trust is broken, then the young girl, the young woman start to look for love and acceptance and somebody to protect her. And it usually ends up outside the home. And once she starts seeking out friends outside her home, that could be man, jeez. Boy, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be in a boyfriend that's selling drugs, get her caught up. That could be in her home girl to say, yo, won't you try this? She don't know nothing about it. Won't you try this drug? Won't you try this? Won't you try that? And that kind of leads to that. So I would say that it definitely boils down to those relationships. And when the mother is not available because she might be on drugs or whatever, it's other women in the village that have to step up and step up early. Instead of talking about the mother that hasn't been home for 3 days or a week, you see her 12-year-old baby on the corner. You know the mother not there. If you just show the child a little love, if a person just went up to that kid, here, take this, go get your chicken box. Then then the kids see that somebody love me and thinking about me. So whether it be the counselor, whether it be the next door neighbor, whether it be the school psychologist, if just somebody in the village take an interest in the child, help the child to build a trusting relationship, because when trust is broken between children and adults, society is in trouble. We are in trouble when trust is broken between children and adults. We in trouble because they don't have the mental capacity to compartmentalize. Well, this person hurt me, but that's okay because I can just get up tomorrow and I can keep it moving. Once that child is hurt, they are destructive. Period. Yeah. So that's where I'm at in terms of people and women trying to get control over their children. It's better that we start early, like Sister Chanel said, so that we don't have to, because it gets harder. Once they get 13, 14, 15, 18, 21, it's more difficult to bring them in. You have less control over them. Their peers have more influence over them than you. So it is better for us to start when they are 5, 6, and 7 and 8 years old. Then we won't have that problem. But now that we got the problem, we have to figure out, like a lot of my success with a lot of the formerly incarcerated women that I know is that they trust me. I speak their language. They know they can't call me and say, yeah, Miss Monica, I missed my appointment because this, that, and the third. They know that I can check them. So, and they respect that. The children and people like structure. As much as they act like they don't, they like structure. And when you are somebody that's providing that structure out of love, they get it. They be like, all right, Miss Monica, you're right. But if you somebody that's full of it, they can sense that too.
Yes, man.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
put myself on mute. I might have to get up and get some tissue.
Hey, sister, no. Let me say this. Thank you for just being you. Thank you for just being you. Please, I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. That lets me know that, and everybody else know that you are serious about this, and also you have been impacted by what you shared. So thank you for that. And we welcome that. So, we're not going to rush you when it comes to that right there. So the next leader is going to be Miss Lisa. And Miss Lisa, you've been through a whole lot. You made it very clear you was in prison, and now you teaching and training young girls and young men not to do some of the things you did and experiences that you had. And you see it every day. And Monica just mentioned it. Really, if the man is not there, it's real tough on a woman to raise her daughter up. It's real tough. And that's what you deal with every single day. So, and you can answer this the way you want to, Lisa, but I want to ask you, how are women and female children and youth being affected by the violence in Baltimore?
Whoa, that's deep. And the children are being affected mentally, emotionally, socially, in their education, the way they handle their peers. They're also, when they're impacted by violence, if we don't intervene, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to be committing violence, or they're going to be being a victim of violence. So that's why it's important for us to step in and intervene. A lot of the families that I work with that's been impacted by violence, one thing for certain, that the young people, the young girls, boys, the parents, they love about me is I'm consistent. You have to be consistent. They have enough people who are in and out of their lives, flopping in, flopping out, or people that they've lost that's never want to come back again. So I'm sorry, y'all, they have a band playing upstairs. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but
no, we can hear you loud and clear. You good? We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The consistency, and just being there for them, letting them know, loving them, because I cannot help the children if I'm not helping the parents. So that's where that comes into place. Is because when I'm working with the children, building them into leaders, y'all see all the cute pictures, they in the community doing cleanup, planting flowers, creating a healing garden. But behind closed doors, you know, I have to help their parents too. Because if I'm not helping the parents, and they, most of the time, they've lost someone that's in a household that could have been the only breadwinner, their husband, their boyfriend, or, you know, their children's dad, to violence. And now they're struggling maybe to pay the bills. They're struggling maybe to keep food on the table. You can't have young kids asking them to come sit in a program and their bellies are hurting. And they get back home and they hungry. So that's why I make it my business that everything that my young people do, whether people feel like they should get it or not, I make sure they get a stipend. And the reason I do that is to inspire them to want to continue to do the work, but it's also because we don't know what's going on at home. And I know a lot of times at home, the income may not be there, you know, the food may not be there, you know, the things, the everyday necessities may not be there, like a computer. Like when we went through COVID, I helped hundreds of kids get laptops. I work with the council members to reallocate $3 million from the Children and Youth Fund to Baltimore City schools. I work with them on that bill because I seen it coming before it came. I wrote every council member, the mayor, the governor, everybody, because it's just small things that may be small to us, but it's huge to these young people that may not have a computer. They may not even have a damn cell phone, to get on, you know? So then now they're behind in education. So, you know, these families are impacted, they're hurting. The parents are hurting. Sometimes the parents don't even want to get out of bed. Or maybe they can't go to the school to that meeting because their child is having behavior issues in school. I'm there to go to them 504 meetings. I know when I was a little girl, I got in trouble in school all the time. My mother used to tell me, shape up or ship out. And that's how I wound up becoming a victim. And I'm not blaming my mother because I love my mother. But she was influenced by the wrong man who wanted her to give up on me and say, if you don't shape up, you ship out. And I get it. I rebelled, I acted out. But when I was left out in them streets with no one to look up to, I wound up looking up to a man who at 16 to a 28-year-old man. And I blamed myself, but when I wanted to leave, he did not allow me to leave. And this what happens to our girls, to the young girls that's out on the street. Sometimes the parents wind up using drugs, whatever that they're doing, and they're not monitoring what their children are doing. Connect them with people who outside of the home, because we're not going to want to listen to you, Mom. We're thinking you're trying to control our lives. So that's why it's important to have programs like Baltimore Brothers, Let's Ride Baltimore, Sister Chanel, Sister Monica, Sister Pastor Ebony. It's important to have these programs so that way when you have people outside of the home, it takes a village. But you need people outside of the home to work together with mom, to work together with dad, to work together with the caregivers. So that way when they hear it coming from mom, or they hear it coming from dad, but then they also hear it coming to their mentor that they look up to, their coach. And now they like, you know what? My mother wasn't just trying to be controlling. She really was trying to help me. You know what I mean? Because if you just hear it coming from mom, I'm being honest. I didn't want to hear it. It was nothing my mother could tell me. And what I do is, I don't try to make my story their story. However, what I do is I take the experiences that I went through in my life and I try to use that. I change me. That's my number one way how I'm successful with my young people. I changed me. At first, I used to try to control and change them, but then I learned to change me. Once I changed me, I was able to help these young people, to help them heal, to help them get through their traumatic experiences. A lot of the children that lost parents to violence scored the 8 or higher on the ACE test. And if you don't know what the ACE test is, it's adverse childhood experiences. That you take this test and you score yourself for each thing that you've been through on that test. And it goes from molestation to losing people to different things that you may have been impacted by. And so we use that to develop goals that we use to work on our young people and their parents individually. Along with the group things that we do, we have individual programming called PRP that we work with these families on individually, each one. And we come up with these goals with a licensed clinical social worker who help us to develop goals that we use to help these families. And that's where Let's Ride Baltimore partners with my mental health program. I've been doing that work as far as the mental health piece for 5 years. And I decided that I had so many people in my program and so many people wanting to be in my PRP program that I had to open my own agency. And now I have an agency where I can take these people that's on my waiting list, that's waiting to sign up, because they see how we're effective. You know, I take money out my own pocket and help parents buy vehicles. Like, this is how I give back. I help pay people bills out my own money because I know how it is not to have. I grew up in a house, a family of 5 siblings, and we shared drawers and everything because we had a single parent. And I'm not ashamed. Me and my sisters shared underwear. You know, we had to hand me down this and hand me down that because we had a single mother who was trying to take care of 5 kids on her own. She didn't have a really good education. So that's why my mother was able to be manipulated the way she is. But I'm a stop there. But I've been through a lot. My mom's feels so bad. And I tell her, don't blame herself because I don't regret anything that I've been through. It made me into who I am today. And now I can take all the pain I have and I turned it into passion to help other people. I'm very passionate about the work I do. I don't play no games. Like Monica said, I check people. I don't play, and I can check them because I'm good in any hood. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, Miss Lisa. And you all heard it. She gave us a nice breakdown of what does that look like from a family structure as well as giving back to our community. And we needed to hear that. We needed to hear that because some of us in them situations right now. And she showed us what worked for her and what was working for her. So thank you for that, Ms. Lisa. The next question, Ms. Daphne. And I know Ms. Daphne spoke about earlier how she lost her son. And we have a lot of parents and family members and friends, most of us on this line know somebody, unfortunately was gunned down, girls as well as women. And we really need to know how to deal with that, because everybody don't always recover from losing a loved one to violence, especially if it wasn't expected, or not, and I don't mean expected as in, just to be very honest, if we in the streets, it's either one way or the other. It's either prison or death. And that's just been the evidence of growing up in Baltimore City. If you want to be in the streets, you got two options, prison or death, and if you get out of it, thank God, right? But what I do know is people need help. People need guidance, because I was speaking to a pastor this morning, and she basically told me that, what she'd been through. And some people don't recover. Some people stay sick. Some people stay hurt. Some people turn into alcoholics. Some people, the list goes, use drugs, but they self-medicate themselves. The list goes on. So, Ms. Daphne, that's the question I have for you. And since that's what you do, mothers, what is it? Mothers of moms.
Mothers of murdered sons and daughters.
Thank you, mothers. Thank you for that. Mothers of murdered sons and daughters. How do you deal with that? How do you teach and train your team, your staff, mothers that lost daughters? Since we're talking about daughters, how do you help them to recover? What's the technique? What's some areas or aspects you can help us with to teach and train other members so they won't lose their minds?
Yes. First of all, I want everybody on here that has lost a loved one to know that your child's life mattered. It mattered to God. It mattered, and it should have mattered to the community and to all their loved ones. And that whatever they were into, I want to get rid of that stigma also that it's all about violence and drugs is in the street, because that's not true. It could be over a bad relationship or somebody wrong at the wrong place at the wrong time. So it's, it's on different levels of that. But however, a loss is a loss, and I don't want anybody to feel bad about how their child was gone out. If they were in the streets or they were selling drugs or whatever, that child, had a right to be here. Basically, we get together, we call those parents when we first hear about it. First of all, we don't ask them how they doing, because we know how they doing. We just ask, what can we do for them at that time? And are they ready to share their story, or are they ready to talk to us? And then if so, and then we invite them to come out, to our meetings and to share. We do like a NA and an AA. It's nothing really down on paper or anything. It's just a natural thing that we do. You just come in. If you want to cry for 4 hours and say your child's name all day, then that's allowed. And other women in the room, they respect that. They come out and they share, and really how they feel. I don't think nobody can imagine the pain. It's an emptiness in your heart, and it's never going to get filled. Each child, you might have 10 children, each child is different. They bring something different, into your heart. And it's the hardest thing that God has ever had us to do. You can't deny it. So we try to keep ourselves spiritual, and also allow them, we want to be mad at God, We're very angry at God. I don't want to get nobody on here and think that that doesn't come out our mouth, because it does. Like, God, why you said you would never leave us or forsake us, and yes, you did. You forsaken me. You laid this much pain on me. What I'm supposed to do with this pain? So it's a struggle. We fight every day, but we uplift as well. And I let them know that no one took their child's life, because that doesn't happen. We don't give nobody that power to think that they have that much power to take somebody's life like that. It was a good person probably doing something bad, because we don't teach There's something we don't teach. In my last few years out here, being out here 15 years, the numbers say so, that the lives don't matter to the community. I mean, it is so senseless that 300 some people get killed a year in the city and maybe another 150 in the whole state of Maryland. But we only see 5 or 6 people lives showed to us through the media, and all who the media and all said, like, that matters. So a lot of these children don't feel like their lives matter. That has to change immediately. And back to the moms, and we have some dads that come in the room too, because like I said, it's just unbearable, but we get through it. We'll never forget our loved ones, but we get through it. And we try to be there to keep those moms from falling like to alcohol or drugs, and trying to, stay in constant contact with them. And it's challenging. And what I find out lately in the last few years, the parents are younger and younger. Like I was 50 some years old when my son, was murdered. I didn't, some of these parents now, maybe like 30. It's just a difference in generations. It's a difference in the pain, because those parents were probably already traumatized before they lost their children. So we're dealing with a lot of outside, a lot that comes into the room, and a lot of them are angry and they want to latch out at somebody, and they're allowed to do that because we understand, about their pain. So it's very challenging, but if you're interested in coming in, you keep coming, like NA say, you keep coming back, it works. And it's a lifetime meeting. It's no 6-week program or no 8 weeks program. As long as you want to come in, those doors are open. If it take you 10 years, it take you 5 years, we're there. Telephone support. If anybody want to call 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, we're there for that. And it's for those who are out there listening, I know your pain. I know what you're going through. And for anybody else out there who I think it's so important that we get included, we get a seat at the table so we can share our stories, and especially to these young guys and girls at a young age, so they can see our faces and see our pain and what they're doing, and then maybe they would change their mind. And we tell them, you don't want to see your mother in this condition. Most of us have the last picture of our children, and we wear that on the shirt. I don't want to wear my son. You don't want your mother on your picture of your mother's shirt or your dad's shirt. You want that picture in the family portrait. You want to be in that home with your family, and you want to be seen alive. We're reading homicide lists that should be graduation lists. There's some things we have to change. And I tell people often, don't blame yourself, because the things that we are seeing now happened 30 years ago. The pain and the trauma was there 30 years ago. It's just manifesting itself now. So we're seeing the residual effects of trauma that's been undealt with for years and years, especially in the Black community. You can go to your mother, father, grandparents and them and share your story. We was told to sit down, be a child, and sit down and don't discuss. Or they say, go to bed, it'll be all right. And then we was on that falsehood of religion. Let Jesus fix it is what we was taught. You don't have to do anything. Just pray and let Jesus fix it. And we've been brought through that through our community stuff. So a lot of us sit back and we waited for Jesus and nothing happened. The trauma kept going and it kept going. So don't try to have a spirit feel. We try to deal things in that room spiritually too. We have to keep ourselves spiritually connected. And we have the belief that, we may see our loved ones again, that's what keeps us going. But keeping our children's lives in the forefront is what's more important and really works in our organization. Yeah, that's what I like to say.
Man, oh man, that was heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Man, that was heavy. Thank you. That was heavy right there. And I believe that was the perfect question. So I'm gonna give myself some kudos for that one.
Yes.
Thank you for that. No, I'm stirred. That was deep right there. Thank you. Listen, y'all are on it. This is why we picked you all. Y'all are on it. Thank you. And trust me, I'm saying it not because, I'm I'm hosting this, one of the hosts, but I'm saying it's because I'm living this life, everything y'all sharing every single day. And I know what y'all saying is true. I know what y'all saying is real. Excuse me. I know what y'all saying is absolutely coming from your heart and what you experience. So thank each and every last one of y'all. So man, this is excellent. So we do have a couple questions. We're gonna go right back down the line as well. But I want to get to some of the questions, but I want to finish this up with Miss Pastor Ebony. And Pastor Ebony, I mean, man, you have been, you just dealing with a murder and a loss of life yesterday out Cherry Hill. And last week, a murder, actually 2 murders. And you called me about both of them. And not only that, though, you went to visit the family. I mean, I was with you at the church, at the daycare with the last young brother who they gunned down and threw his body in the middle of the street. And you knew the mother. You know, so, and then the 2 young ladies that was murdered inside the vehicle, that we dealt with that together. I mean, the list goes on and on. And you had some challenges, you know, before you turned your life around. Not turned your life around, but the people you was involved with. Let me say that. I can't say, well, I guess it's the same exact thing because you made some conscious decisions as well. But anyway, you know, and you can speak about that, not me, because I can't speak about your personal life, only what you shared with me. But anyway, I really want you to talk about, because a lot of the stuff that we're saying right now, you know, we don't want to talk about that, and in private we do. But what y'all are sharing, you know, people don't want to talk about that in public. I think it was Lisa or Monica, somebody said that, you know, and people not going to learn if they don't hear another story or something that happened to them and how you recovered from that and what are you doing. And so I want to talk about, because we're dealing with women and girls in violence, right? So as we talk about, you know, and I believe Sister Chanel mentioned it earlier about sexual abuse. And I know that's something that can't be talked about in public. Everybody don't have that kind of courage. Everybody haven't recovered. And a lot of it, as Sister Chanel said, happened with the uncle, the father, the brother, you know, literally where the young girl was raped, and then that impacted her entire life, you know, because she never got treatment, you know, and it's not why you doing it, it's what happened, like what happened to her, you know, and it's not why she did the act, but what happened to her to cause her to do the act. So can you talk about the sexual abuse in our community and how that impacts the violence in our women and girls when they lead down that road, please?
Well, as you mentioned, Cap, some things is just firsthand experience. And I'll say raised in the church. That's one thing that I thank God that my grandmother and my family kept me in church because of some things that I experienced. What goes in a house in Black homes stays in a house. And that's one thing that we have to stop, because if a child have been violated, they need to have a to-go-to person. They need to be able to talk about what they experience. So right now we have a city full of violence. We have a city full of young ladies that's running around here, jumping in from bed to bed, or just don't even know how to love themselves because of certain things that they experience as a child. You know, a lot of times we have so many of our young ladies or moms telling the young ladies, oh, that's your uncle, and that's somebody that they're dealing with. And a lot of these young men or the mother partners are touching these kids. And we run around, we sit and we look at these young ladies like, okay, why did that little girl have on that little skirt? Or why is she doing this? Because what she experienced in her house caused her so much pain and trauma. And I'll say that at the age of 13, I was violated. And at the age of 17, I was violated. And I'll tell you that I was a teen mom, and it affected me my whole life. The second time that it happened, I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, and I had my daughter the next day. But mentally, it messed me up because I tell you like this, what goes on in the house stays in the house. I did not talk about it as much. I was so hurt and mentally messed up that I couldn't even go to court to say what happened or what I experienced. And I'll say that just growing up, I always had a passion to protect kids because of what I experienced. And it's not easy. And I say that one thing that we have to do, we have to allow these kids to open up, to share. But it's all about that trust as well. And we cannot judge these kids or what they're doing right now because we don't know their story. Everybody had their own story, you know, and my story, what I experienced, it caused major problems in my life, as far as even dating. When I was dating, I didn't want, as I mentioned, a true attachment. I didn't know how to love who I was. So the first time that it happened at the age of 13, afterwards, I went out and I was looking for love in the wrong street. I'm looking for love in the wrong places. At that time, my mom, she was out there, you know, the 70s and 80s, drugs was out there. I thank God, I love my mom. We have an awesome relationship now. But during that time, the first time that it happened to me, when I say I'll never forget, I will not forget, you know, this like 285 pounds man touching me. And at that time, I probably was like 75 pounds. I was real thin. And I knew that it was wrong. After it happened, I grabbed a knife. I remember walking up Bethune Road, trying to make it to my grandmother's house to let them know what happened. And afterwards, after everything happened, probably within the next 2 years, I went out searching for love in the wrong spots because what goes on in the house stays in the house, and end up getting connected with someone that I assumed that was going to protect me. So when young people are dealing with trauma, they're looking for somebody to protect them, you know, rather they get in an abusive relationship, they're going to stay there because guess what? They'd rather be in that abusive relationship than to deal with what they experienced in their home. So Cap, one thing that I would say to the listening audience, love on your kids, listen to your kids, believe your kids, let your kids, your nieces know that everybody is not their uncle. Don't be sitting on men's laps. That's like a definitely no, you know. And when I say that, even at my age right now, I don't even let people like really touch me too much because I jump. So that thing will affect you like the rest of your life, you know. But I thank God that I had a relationship with God, that I did not lose my mind, you know. And I say that I learned how to forgive but not forget. So the work that I do now, I'm just really reaching out, having one-on-ones with young ladies, because guess what? Sometimes they don't want to share their story with everyone. They need somebody, a to-go-to person that they can trust, that will listen to them and not judge them. Because a lot of ladies that have been violated, they think that it's their fault. It's my fault that this happened. I know growing up, I used to like wearing nice little skirts, you know, above my knees, you know, and not knowing that that caused what I experienced, caused me to do some of the things that I've done, you know, but I say, but God. So that's why I have a passion for our young people, a passion for our young ladies, to educate them and teach them that, no, it's not your fault what you experience. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to talk about what your stepfather did, you know. It's don't keep your mouth closed, you know. And that's why we have so many kids acting up in school. We look at some of these young ladies that's getting attached to violence, joining gang members, joining gangs, and just getting attached to the wrong things because of what they experienced in their home. So that right there, and one thing that I would, to each listener, listen to your daughters. When I say listen to your daughters, and let your daughters know if they right or wrong to talk to you about anything. When I say anything, and as I mentioned, as far as just being because of what happened to me when I was younger, I ended up getting into a domestic violence relationship. And I stayed there as long as I did because I was looking for some protection. I wanted someone to protect me because being violated as a female, somebody taking something from you sexually, it's not easy, it's hard. So you would deal with something else that's not so traumatic, so you won't have to deal with what you experience.
Man, thank you, Pastor. I really believe that you helped a lot of us out with that answer. And then also we can use that information moving forward, especially, you know, what you just mentioned at 7, what happened to you at 17 and how you dealt with that and how we need to deal with that right now. So I really want to come back to that as well, because that we can spend some quality time on that, especially as it relates to the violence and the actions behind our girls that's happening right now, especially like in our schools. And then a lot of young ladies or women are being arrested and locked up. And we're not talking about that in our community, like it's being swept under the rug. I mean, like locked up, going to jail, going to prison, not just jail, not just juvenile, locked up, going to prison. And we have to speak to Sister Monica about that as well. So we're gonna have another round of questions for everybody, but I want to get to a couple of questions from the audience. And it's one that's from anonymous attendee. And this question says, since violence among transgender women is at an alarming high rate, do your women's organization work with trans women? Now, whoever can answer that is fine. This is an open question, but if you can answer that, please go right ahead.
Yeah, this
Can I
is
just say one thing? Oh, I'm sorry.
this
We had just lost what's the basketball player name? His mother had called us because he was killed. She was killed. A trans woman was just recently killed because of that. But I haven't directly worked with one. But I just want to say that does happen. And Reggie Bullock, mother, we did a peace march because his sister is a trans woman. And then the sad part about his other sister was just killed again a year later at Park Heights. So that's what's happening.
No, thank you for that, Lisa, because I actually met with him. He played for the New York Knicks. And I think he got traded, but I know exactly. I met with him in Baltimore. He came down and I met with him in my office for about 3 hours and helped him with that situation. I know exactly what you're talking about. And yep, absolutely. Thank you for that. Go right ahead, Monica. I know you was going to say something about that question.
Yeah, yes, sir. I was just going to say that, you know, when you are, and I keep coming back to it, when you are working with women and girls, you know, whether that's a trans woman or, you know, whatever kind of woman, anybody that identifies as a woman, regardless, right? We have to work differently than when you work with males because women are emotional creatures. And you have to kind of work with them in that capacity. And when it comes down to relationships, if you have a so-called straight man that's willing to beat and murder a trans woman, then what does that say about the relationships that he had growing up in his household? What was the relationships and the dynamics that caused this straight man to just want to, you know, beat and murder this person? So no matter where we go with this, and no matter what, you know, subgroup we work with, whether you work with families, whether you work with men, women, trans, it's all going to go back to those relationships because your interactions and your relationships is how you learn how to treat other human beings. When I was a kid, I had somebody ride in my little red flyer radio, my little wagon. I pushed him on the ground. I was like, get off my damn wagon. It's my wagon. I want to ride it. And my mother corrected me right then and there. And she said, no. Now that you want to be mean to that baby, you get out and you do the pulling. Because I was like, no, this is my wagon. You're going to do the pulling. I'm going to do the riding. But the little kid wanted to ride. I was like, nah, you do the pulling. I'm going to do the riding. And my mother made me, share. And again, it's going to go back to the relationship, whether it's relationship with your mother, your counselor, your teacher, your spiritual person in your church, your spiritual person in your mosque. When it comes to the decision making, that decision making is based on the relationships that you have with other people, because your relationships teach you how to treat other human beings. Your relationships teach you how to act and respond in a crisis situation. Your relationships teach you how to develop coping skills, because the people around you say, damn, we ain't got no rent money to pay the rent. We don't have this. And that energy and that stuff is translated onto people. If you in your household struggling, your lights out, you don't have no food, all of that stuff is translated. So children kind of pick that stuff up, and they pick up how to deal with people with their relationships. If they see you arguing with somebody and you say, you know what, let's figure out how we can come to a peaceable agreement, they can mimic that behavior. But if they see you dealing with a relationship that's always tumultuous, that's how they react and respond. So I just wanted to say that it is still going to come back to relationships. And when we deal with trans women and women in general, that's how we do. We consider relationships.
Yeah, and you thank you, Monica. So, and Monica gave the solution to that question, or some answers to that question in regards to treatment and how to help individuals, transgender, let me say transgender, because that was a question. So I want to stick to that question. Go right ahead, Sister Chanel.
Yes, sir. I was going to say, my organization specifically does not work with our transgender community. However, personally, I will help anyone that is in need of help. That's just the nature of me. I will say programmatically, one of the challenges I see in the city as it relates to issues of violence is meeting people where they are. Trauma affects different people in different ways, and it's cultural also, because as Monica was talking about, the cultural differences between someone who identifies as heterosexual versus someone who identifies as trans. In order to meet the needs of people, we have to meet them where they are and identify with how they relate. And this cookie cutter approach that we are taking to the healing process in our city, whether it is men, whether it is women, whether it's our trans community, whether it's children, don't work. We have to have programs very specific to those populations that can meet them where they are. And most times we set up these programs and it's one catch all. If you suffer from trauma, this is where you come. Well, that's not necessarily, because even within the Black community, there are cultural norms from East Side to the West Side. Some people live on the East Side, they don't go to the East Side. Some people live on the West Side, don't go to the East. That's how it is. I grew up in Sandtown, Winchester. Gilmore Homes literally sits in the middle of Sandtown, Winchester, and they are a community among themselves. It's like they're not even a part of that community. So providing services to Gilmore Homes is not the same as providing services to the broader community of Sandtown, Winchester. And I say that to say that as we look at addressing trauma and helping people to heal, we have to have programs tailored to communities. We have to have programs tailored to the subcultures in communities so that we can really meet people where they are, where they feel comfortable and safe coming to get the help that we're trying to give.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So please, to answer the anonymous question, can you put your organization information in the chat that anybody can deal with this, deal with the transgender woman. Because I agree with what Sister Chanel said, that it needs to be tailored fit. So this way we won't be playing with an individual as it relates to their needs, or we helping them halfway, you know, and so thank you for that. That was an excellent answer. And I think everybody who shared gave excellent answers as it relates to that question. So hey Doc, Tarif, was there any more questions? Because I didn't see no more in the question and answer. I don't know if it was any in the chat. Tafari, did y'all have any questions before we go to the next round of questions? I just wanted to make sure, I don't want to miss nobody in the middle of what we get ready to do, because I do want to make sure we have some takeaway points as well for our audience as well. Because we only have about 30 minutes left.
Yeah,
Did
so
y'all-
hey,
Okay.
greetings everyone. Yeah, no, I've scrolled up a few times just to make sure. I know that there was one person who asked if they could ask a question. It was Tony. I don't know if Tony is still in here. I didn't see Tony's question in the chat. I didn't see it in the Q&A section. So Tony, if you have a question still, please put that in the chat if you're still in here. Otherwise, no, it's just been a lot of praise and community in the chat for what folks have been saying and sharing. So I think we're good to go, unless Dr. Leaf, unless you saw anything that I may have missed.
Are you on mute, Doc?
Tony just posted that Monica had answered the question, so.
Wonderful. So I think we're good to keep going.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're gonna go into the second round, and I am going to save a few minutes for questions, so I want us to keep our answers kind of short and brief. But we're going to start with right back with you, Sister Chanel, and Sister Pastor Ebony had said something real heavy, you know, as it relates to the violence and what's happening to our young girls once they are violated sexually, specifically by an uncle or relative. Let me say that, by a relative, and how it impacted her entire life. You know, how do we directly help young girls, and I don't want to say women, but young girls that's been violated, and we wondering why their behavior is the way it is? Because when we talk about 100 women being shot, right? It probably could have, well, let me say almost 50 women being murdered. It easily could have been another 100 if the bullet would have hit or went another way. So it could have been 150 women murdered. And that's, I mean, you really can't compare 50 to 150. It's bad, period. But how do we deal with that, you know, with that pain that Pastor Ebony was talking about? And really, she said it, she was searching for love in the wrong places. And we know that happens a lot in our community, especially with our girls.
Yes. So
yeah, go ahead.
one of the things that I do with Sisters Growing Together, and that's my baby program, and it's open to women of all ages, but my primary focus is elementary to college level. And just recently in October of 2021, I call it a Junior Sister Circle. And the age range from 11 to 16. And this was a session, and the title of the session was titled, Treasure Your Treasure, Don't Give It Away Yet. And my goal is always to educate our young girls on human sexuality, not sex, but human sexuality. Most times as adults, you know, we tell children, sex is bad for you, stay away from sex. But the reality, the fact that all of us sitting here on this webinar, somebody has sex and it must have been good at least one time. And that's what I tell them. I do not allow parents into my sessions because I need the girls to be free to talk. And I educate them on what happens to their body as they are matriculating through life, what that feeling is when you like a little boy. Because as women, as girls, we so much, and I'm gonna say it that way, so much, because that's how the little girl said it. but we mistaken lust for love. We mistaken hormones for love. And so when I'm 14, when I'm 11, and I don't understand that little throb, and I won't be as explicit as I am with them, but those feelings where your heart starts racing and then you feel pulsating parts of your body that you've never felt before. No one educates our girls to say that's a natural feeling. But when you get that natural feeling, that's the little boy I don't want you to be alone with. I let them know he's like kryptonite. You stay there long enough like kryptonite, he will wear those panties down and you will end up in a situation that you're not prepared to be in. So education is the key. I will tell you, Brother Andrew, and everyone else on here, most of the women I work with have not been parented. And because they have not been parented, they are unable to handle their teenage daughters. Because what they see is a cycle, a repetitive cycle happening. So I will say definitely education is the key. And I'm gonna close down on this. Systemic changes need to happen. We cannot have a judge, as the judge did last year in Baltimore County with the Baltimore County police officer that raped the young woman, to say that she didn't appear to be psychologically traumatized enough for him to warrant jail time. So he only got house arrest. The silence of women, not the silence of men. The silence of women spoke volumes in that situation, because we should have showed up by the droves outside of that courtroom and demanded that that judge be removed. Women have to speak up for women. We have to be the voice to change these systems that do not work in our favor. And as long as we're quiet, then society will continue to devalue us and devalue our pain. So I am challenging us as women to come together and speak up, to stand up. If you can't speak, just stand. Pastor Ebony can speak, Daphne can speak, Monica can speak, Lisa can speak. Everyone don't need to speak, but we all need to stand in unison.
Right.
Because if not, our girls will continue to be trafficked. And again, let me just wrap this up. We have PSAs on everything. When Healthy Start in the 80s wanted to address teen pregnancy, there was billboards everywhere. You had billboards for gun buybacks, but we do not have billboards advertising safe places, 1-800 numbers for women and girls who are in trouble. There are no pamphlets in health clinics. You get a whole bunch of condoms and a pamphlet on STDs, but nothing to give to you to say that if you are experiencing this situation, this is what you can do. This is where you can go. Systems need to change to make violence against women a public health issue. I'm gonna shut it down right there.
Man, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. We're gonna go right into the next question. Monica, you up next, right, Monica?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So this is dealing with the incarceration, and I think we need to put some emphasis on this because nobody talks about it. Nobody says my daughter's in prison. Nobody says my daughter's in jail. Nobody says my daughter's in the juvenile justice system. And I understand that you and Lisa made that very clear that at first y'all couldn't talk about it. So from a systemic standpoint, how do we change that, as it relates to the young girls and women keep going back and forward to prison or keep committing crimes of violence and then also being caught up with our young brothers? How do we change? Because it only take 1 minute. My daughter, my son, if he breaking the law, his girlfriend normally follows him. That's what normally happens. And then also a lot of women and a lot of girls get murdered and shot because of that. So how do we change that? What did you do different, or what you shared with your students and your team in regards to dealing with that continuing situation as it relates to our young girls and women going to prison, going to jail, going to juvenile, and it's nothing being done about it. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, and I guess one of the reasons why they don't really talk about it is because when you think about women and the role of women in society, you would generally think about a woman as somebody that's maternal, that's home, cooking dinner, doing homework with the children, and being that person. That's been the picture of women in, you know, American society. You stay home, you take care of the children. You know, I'm gonna go out, be the breadwinner. You do this, you do that. That is where the woman, you know, they used to have a saying, a woman's place is in the home. That's a saying. Well, what has happened is that because the young woman in the home is growing up at 8 and 9 years old, fending for herself, she got to do just like the little boys do. When she see all these things that she want, nobody helps her to get a youth works job. So she gonna sell some weed. When she see a nice little bag she want, nobody's coming to her, helping her to sign up to do this, or helping her to stay in school, or making sure that she understands that as soon as you finish school, you know you can go to the community college for free and get yourself an AA degree. Nobody is taking their hands and showing them that there is a way that you can get those things that you want, get those things that you like without hooking up with the dope dealer boyfriend. Now, when you hook up with him, he gonna make sure you get the hair salon as a front. He gonna make sure that, you know, he running that money through you and you cleaning the money up for him. But when he get in trouble, they gonna put a hole in your head too. So now you got women that's slumped over out there in the streets because they're connected to this dope dealer boyfriend. She getting these things she want. She could have went to nursing school and actually earned even more money than what he's giving her. Then you got the other women that, like I said, they see these things, they want these things. So just like little boys that's out there doing a squeegeeing, the girls are out there selling weed, selling drugs or whatever. And because the female is out there in a what appears to be a man's world, she has to be even more treacherous than the guy, because she already come up in a society where women are perceived to be weak. And we already have a society where an 8-year-old little boy has already started abusing his classmate. So she's already coming up in a space where she got to fend for herself and she got to fight. So now she carrying the guns. Now she out there selling the drugs. And if some little guy think that he gonna rob her, she got something to prove. So she gonna go and put hot ones in him even faster than the guy, because of all of these things. She got to defend herself. She got to stand up for herself. Nobody's protecting her. She got to protect herself. So I see that as being part of the issue. And if we want some resolution, we got to jump in there. She might not want to do home economics classes, but we got to find ways to give them training on womanhood. And it don't have anything to do with your sexual preference. It just has everything to do with the female understanding that this is how you can get through this life. This is what you can do to bring in money. If you're a single woman and you got 2 kids, then let us help you. You don't need this dope dealer guy that's going to get you and your kids killed. Let us help you to be able to do that. I know so many struggling young women that they have jobs, but these jobs that they offer, these people know you can't work in no damn McDonald's with 2 and 3 kids, but they're not actually giving the people who want to change. Because all of these people that's out there, they didn't want to be out there. None of them. If they had summer jobs, if they had jobs that was paying real good money, if they had that community around them, none of those people would be out there. None of them. But, you know, society expect that we're going to have them work at McDonald's for $8 an hour. And these corporations, they making all this money. then it just don't make sense. Even to the people who are still listening, be a real service provider. Don't train your people up in a way in which they're going to fail. If I'm training somebody, I want to train them to be an engineer. If I'm training somebody, I want to train them to say, listen, you not only can be a nurse, you can be a doctor. Start really giving people who are in the city those opportunities to be upper class, middle class, instead of keep giving them these pennies and stuff, because you're keeping them where they at. You done checked it off. Yep, they came here today. We taught them GED classes. They came here today, their urine was clean. They came here today and they check. And it looks like success. But in 3 years, that same kid that was in your program is dead now because you did not continue to do the follow-up. You can't take a 12-year-old and they love you. Oh, Miss So-and-so, you're just awesome. And then after the program is always over, our programs need, like this $12 million youth fund that's out here that people want money from. They have figured out a way that this is something that should go on and on and on and on and on. And these successful programs need to follow these kids through a certain lifespan up until they are at least 24 years old. Because it's a lot of, matter of fact, I've seen some teachers that say, man, that kid was a good student. He was a good student. And now look at him. He out there dead or whatever. You got to follow these kids. You can't take them for a year or 2 years. You got to take them all the way up to the college door. So the programs don't need funding for this year. They need continuous funding because human beings have a lifespan. And we have programs and entities in Baltimore City that follow human beings from the beginning of their life to the end of their life. That's why I like recreational parks that I used to work for, because that's one of the only places besides Baltimore City Health Department that follows the lifespan of all human beings living in Baltimore City. They start off at 7 years old in a recreation center, and they end up at 80 years old at Patterson Park with their senior division. So recreational parks is the only, besides the health department, that follows the lifespan of Baltimore residents from the time they're born, old enough to walk, till the time they leave us. And we have to, in our programming, in our funding, we have to consider those programs that follow people throughout that particular lifespan, at least up until they're 24, up into the college door, because they will do well in threads, right? As long as they're here. But the difference with threads is that they figured out how to follow these kids for years, up until they are, I think, 21 or 24. And I think that that's part of the key, is continuous funding of these programs and seeing a 12-year-old all the way up until he is at least 24 years old. That will make the difference because they'll fall off.
Excellent, excellent. No, excellent answer. You covered a lot too. And thank you for that. And I wanna ask Lisa something similar to what you just shared, that the public, we don't talk about. It's a culture, right? So dealing with this violence. So I want to, Lisa, you're up next, right? So basically, I went to a funeral, I want to say about 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. It was dealing with COVID. And I don't know who the funeral was for, because I was really there for support, right? Like, I didn't know the individual. But what I noticed was it had to have been at least 100 girls, right? But all the girls was dressed like boys, meaning that they had Nike shoes on, jeans with holes in them, belts, hoodies, jackets, hats. Honestly, and I was just in my truck watching. And some of them, I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. But then when I got out my truck and I noticed it was all girls. So the culture of some of our young girls, they have adopted another lifestyle. That don't mean nothing bad or good. My question to you is, because of the rap culture, the social media, all these different media outlets and formats, they are playing a role on our young girls, on our young girls thinking. Now, it doesn't make a difference because we're not here to judge no one, right? But what do you think? For instance, one of y'all, Pastor Ebony talked about she used to like to wear little skirts, and I know like some of the proms, like they don't even want to wear a skirt or dress. They won't go. You know, if the school say you gotta wear a dress or a skirt, you can't wear no jeans, none of this, none of that. You know, you can't come, right? So, and I'm dealing with that with one of my young brother daughters, right? But anyway, make a long story short, how do we impact that culture? And I mean that in a positive way. How do we deal with that, Lisa? Thank you.
Yes. First of all, can y'all hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Hear you
I'm
good.
working through devices. Sorry about that. I wanted to kind of touch on both of the things you kind of just said, because you kind of just said two different things.
Mhm.
And one was, if I'm not mistaken, about the females that's dressing up as boys, right? And me, myself, I have been in a lesbian relationship for 8 years. And the woman that I was dating for that 8 years, she dressed like a boy. So I believe a lot of times when we don't, sometimes we don't feel comfortable within ourselves because we have been shamed. We have been told that we were ugly, our lips are too, even women that dress like women. Your lips too big, your stomach too big, you fat, you skinny, you tall, you short. It's like you can't get a break, right? And then they're saying Beyonce, she's on TV, she has this little stomach and she has this big butt and these wide hips and you know, this long pretty hair. And us females, the feminine females, we're wanting to be what we see, right? And so the masculine females, a lot of times, they've been through something very traumatic, right? Or they just kind of like don't identify. They cannot identify themselves as a female. And then some you do identify, like I know my ex, she don't call her no man. She dressed like a man, she looked like a man, but she was my girlfriend all day long. You know what I mean? Like she was a woman. She didn't try to be a man. And but then you have some that do have to identify, and we have to respect that because we're living in a diverse world today. And you know, some people, sometimes we go through identity crisis. I know I've been through identity crisis where I'm like, oh my God, do I want a woman or do I want a man? Which one is it, right? And it's like, you know, we go through that and it's hurtful. It's like a mental, you know, it's psyche, you know, it's dealing with your mental and you're figuring out who you are inside. And sometimes we get really confused about who we are and being in a, and I mean, like I didn't mess with a man for 10 years, you know, and literally with only just a woman. And oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I felt like the ceiling was coming in.
No, you are right.
So, you know, a lot of times our young girls, we just need to make sure the men, tell your sisters, tell your daughters that they're beautiful. Husbands, wives, tell your wives, your girlfriends that they're beautiful. When girls are young, they need to be told in the home that they don't tease your children. Don't say, oh, look at fat so, or look at skinny so, or gain some weight, or, you know, you can teach them to live healthy and to be healthy, but do not tease them because then they go out trying to do this. And the next thing you know, we get to the violence. They're setting guys up, robbing them, killing them, because guess what? They want to get their titties done. You know what I mean? They want to get their butt done. They want to get their stomach done. And then next thing you know, your daughter dead. She shot dead because she out here robbing guys, giving them Mickeys, giving them whatever they can do to take them out. And they have such low self-esteem, a lot of young girls, that the first guy to tell them they love them, all you gotta do is say, go set that nigga up. You know, I mean, I'm just being real. And they gonna do it. You feel me? set them up, act like you like them. They might even give them some booty. You know what I mean? Like, I have to be straight, like, this is what's happening. And I talk to the young people all the time. And when I tell you I'm the trusted messenger, I'm the trusted messenger. And when I ask them, why is these young girls keep getting killed? Why is they getting shot? They like aunt, because I'm like the community aunt. Everybody call me Aunt Lisa. You know what I mean? All the young people, they call me Aunt Lisa. So they like, they out here robbing. So they getting hit, you know? And it's sad, like, girls got money over their head because of this very thing, just them having very low self-esteem. So as men and as women, as role models, as mentors, we have to do everything that we can do to build our young girls up, to make them feel good about themselves. I tell people they're beautiful every single day. You know why? Because we need to make each other feel good. One thing about women that I don't like that some women do, when they see a woman down, they want to keep you down and step on you while you down, instead of saying, sis, let me help you up. Let me lift you up. You know, we need more women to do that. Don't wait till I'm going through something and now you want to bash me too. You know what I mean? Help me up. And that's why I make it my business. When I see a woman is down and I see a woman crown is upside down, I try to make sure I try to fix that. And another thing, what Monica just said, that's why I'm so honored that our group is with the health department. So all of our ambassadors are also health department ambassadors, because we want to make sure that we're getting all the resources that we can for the young people that we work with. So not only are they Let's Ride Baltimore ambassadors and Baltimore Brothers ambassadors, they are also the health department ambassadors. So what we do is we work with our community partners, because it takes a village. You cannot do this alone. I know I cannot do this alone. That's why my young people are at Baltimore Brothers every single Wednesday, because Kat has these trainings, and these are powerful trainings and things that I can't teach the young men. I know we on young women, but we have a lot of teenage young men in our program. And Captain Andrews and his team, he has so many powerful leaders and brothers that come out and teach them how to be a man. And we're working on teaching the young ladies on how to be a woman, developing the curriculum for that. But we are teaching our young people, because one thing about behavior, it's taught. Whether you're seeing it in a home, whether someone if they can show you how to be bad or show you how to do bad things, we can show you how to do good things. Our young people need positive people that they can look up to, because if they don't have that, they are going to look up to what they see when they walk outside of their door. And that's what happened to me. I had no one positive to look up to when I was young. So I looked up to the drug dealers and the drug addicts and the fighters and the abusers and the users. That's what I looked up to as a child, because I didn't have nobody. So, you know, we just need to, and another thing, we cannot try to take the speck out people's eyes unless we take the stone out of our own eyes, because a lot of women do that. Stop bashing women, because a lot of times people bash people because they want to make their self feel good. But your wrong ain't worse than my wrong. My wrong ain't worse than your wrong. We've done all did some crap. We done all had some stuff in our closet. Don't try to bash another woman to lift yourself up. Women, stick together. Let's lift each other up. Hold on to that woman. Wrap your arms around that woman. Tell that woman that you love her, because that's where we go wrong at. And that's why our women feel bad about themselves, and they do things and they have poor relationships, because it's not enough people telling women that they love them. I love you, Pastor Ebony. I love you, Sister Monica. I love you, Sister Chanel. I love you, Miss Daphne. I love you, Andrika, even though y'all can't see it. I love each and every one of y'all women on here. I love y'all. And I will do anything for each and every one of y'all. I will never leave y'all with y'all crown upside down, or need y'all needing or wanting something. Y'all can always count on me. And I just want y'all to know that. Thank you.
Man, oh man, that was fire. Thank you. I felt your passion through the doors. I mean, through the phone, through the screen. And I hope you answered Michael's question. He said, what does it matter if they are dressed like boys? Isn't there more important things to worry about? So you answered that piece about the violence and the culture and what they deal with, because I'm not sure if that answered his question, but I hope that helped him out, because it wasn't about, you know, it's not more important things that we don't worry about. We're not judging that. The question is the mentality and what happens. And you spoke about the violence and how they, and what they're dealing with in the community. And, you know, just to be very transparent, you know, most of y'all know my daughter, Isha. She's 17 and she played basketball, and I buy her clothes. She wears men's clothes every day. So, you know, I just wanted to make that point, because this wasn't about clothes or young girls and worrying about that. The goal was the mentality and the culture that our young girls adopt and take on, and some of them go a little too far. But thank you for Lisa for answering that question, because you know, we have to love them more, because some of them take on that mentality that you talked about, the violence piece, which is very important. So thank you for that. And we want to stay on point with the time. Yeah, thank you. Hurt people. That's right. Miss Daphne, thank you. Miss Daphne, then Ebony, and then we'll wrap this up. So, but if there are any questions in the chat, please put them out there for us, Tafari and Doc. So Miss Daphne, last question for you. And I mean, you've been on the front line, you know, like I said, you like a mother to me. And I don't see it no other way. And I got mad love and respect for how you operate. And you really one of the first organizations as a that I was familiar with as a woman dealing directly with murder. And I know it's been others, but what I know when we talk about girls and women in violence, you know, it's a consistent effort of women being involved in drug dealing, violence, murder. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So from your experiences and what you deal with and what you've been dealing with your organization, from a training standpoint or from a technique standpoint, and you come directly from one who experienced that in your personal life, how do we help the woman or the mother on this line listening to that young girl who has been gunned down, and then she has other siblings or she have other family members that's dealing with that violence? How do we handle that, Ms. Daphne?
That's kind of a tough question, but let me try to answer it. I guess I never really experienced it for myself, you know, from my daughter, but it's just a few women that I have met who have lost their children to violence. And most of them, let's say, turn my camera back.
I can hear you.
Most of them will come out eventually and say, I told my daughter not to do that. I told her not to be with that person. I knew it was going to happen, or I tried to, you know, talk to them about their behavior and things. Nobody's really like in denial, if I want to say that. It's tough because you caught in a place where you lead by example for most parents. And nowadays, like I said, in the last 30 years, the culture is violent. The culture is very violent. The culture is uncaring. The culture is uneducating young people. It's everybody just do what they want to do and ask questions later. And that is hurting us tremendously, especially in the Black community. I'm 63 years old, and just things that are allowed in society now was just not allowed by our parents or tolerated, you know, and we all had to come up with some kind of spiritual based guidance. And we spend a lot of time on fixing broken people and no time on keeping people from being broken at all. And that just bothers me that, I admit it, the crime is the biggest industry other than the military. I mean, everybody makes off the back end of it. What are we doing to prevent these things from happening? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. I depend on all these other organizations that I come around and be around. I depend on the work being done and people being seriously and sticking to the work and following that person, like someone said, because I don't want the mothers in my organization. This is not an organization like a Groove 5 group or Kappa or anything like that, or fraternity, anything. This is an organization. You don't want another mother to have to come through and experience. So that's a hard question. It really, really is. But I do want to say one thing. I'm really into this preventive stuff. So that means taking it back to kids 3, 4, 5 years old. I make recommendations, especially in some communities and all, that this is only going to be solved through the health department. It's only going to be solved through the health department, which we're going to have to grow the health department through organization or partner with the health departments and get in these children's faces at a young age and get into some of these homes and find out what's going on, try to redirect that anger and that pain to better situations. Even maybe having a soon school open up in the morning. When I went to school, we had a free half an hour to do your homework or whatever. That we need to have somebody in that school with a message or mental health expert, somebody to ask those kids what happened to you last night or what are you going through, and take them out of those classrooms and put them somewhere else where they can get the necessary help they need to give. Because like Frederick Douglass said, it's easy to prepare a broken child and a broken man. We have to turn this thing around where we don't want to ever revisit this situation again, ever. And so that I don't have to even have to sit in a mother's face ever again and watch the tears that flow like a river coming out of her, and the pain and the guilt. A lot of us are guilty because, you know, in Black women, our sons do no wrong. You know, we protect our son. We raise our daughters, but we protect our sons to no end because we seen our grandmother do it, our mother do it, and all. And I think sometimes we go overboard because they can depend on us. And a lot of women are not doing right by their sons. And the father may don't be there, but we got to take back our homes and take back, especially our sons, and lead and guide them in the direction that they should go. And we must lead by example. Not lead by example. It's just so many things we need to do up the front end so we can correct the back end. But let's just take this time and pray and just ask God for, to help us get through this and help us teach our teenagers and our youth to make better decisions at an early age. Because you know what? You're going to spend the money up the back end or the front end. You're still spending the same money. Either we're going to be seeing, let me tell you what we do. I had one son who was incarcerated. Why? I don't know. He wants to just be around people I didn't want him to be around. And I spent a lot of my times going up down Hagerstown once or twice a week, to visit him. And then my other son was very quiet and all. He copied more stuff from my older son. So now I spend more of my time on Sundays or my day off. I sit at the cemetery. That's the choices that are now that all we have in the Black community, especially in the inner cities and all what we do with our sons. I mean, it has to change. It has to change, and we're gonna find our way out. And like I said, we've cried tears of flow. We filled up rivers with our tears, and nobody is helping dry our tears up. I have other children at home. I want programs. I want things to deter them from going to a life of crime. And I just want to end by saying two things. Anybody that's on there listening, perhaps some of you. Marvin Gaye did a song, What's Going On, 40 years ago. We still live in that. There's been no change. 1978, the Whispers did a song, Olivia, Lost and Turned Out. Get that into the hands of some of these young people and some programs and stuff, the lyrics and stuff, and let them hear these things. And that'll be the truth for some parents who don't want to talk about really what's going on or what they done or anything. But we got to free these young people. Like I said, these children are paying debts that they don't owe. So we want to get our children fixed, and that's going to be a way of being proactive and not reactive. So I would just like to say that. And any parents on here, again, I don't want you to take it personal. I don't want you to feel bad what you did for your child or what you didn't do. It didn't come with handbooks, and society has a lot of ills that our children are adapting to. And as far as social media, things that we never, ever had in contact with, our parents wouldn't even have allowed us to even be on that stuff, even if it was. So we got to make some corrective changes, and it's never too late, but let's get things going.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, Miss Daphne. I know that question was a little tough, like you said, but you answered it real well. Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so Pastor Ebony, you got the last question. And what are the special supports needed by mothers who have lost a child to violence?
Well, I'll say a ear. They need somebody to listen to them. And I would say that a true support system. And I say it's been 3 years. And when you have a mother, and I'll say such as myself, I've before my son was murdered, I probably did a good 47 young men funerals in Baltimore City. So mentally, I adapted myself to trauma. But when it happened to my son, it was hard. And I thank God for the Cherry Hill community, because they gave me that. I said the community that broke me, because that's where he was murdered at, was the community that helped repair me, because they were there to give me the strength that I need. And I would say that when that happened, everybody was an enemy to me, in spite of the people that was around me mentally. Somebody knew what happened. Somebody, I just wanted some answers. I wanted to know what happened. So one thing that I would say, need someone, a true to-go-to person at your service. And when I say at your service, somebody that's going to listen to you, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, when you saying the same thing over and over because you're dealing with the trauma. And I'll say that when you lose a child, it's just like a tape recorder that you have in your head. You just keep hitting the rewind button and play. So you have to truly change your mindset. And when I say stay busy and get them involved with something that's gonna truly help them. And when I say help them, because guess what? The pain would never go away to that person, that mother, that father leave this earth. But what I would say is try to do something positive. I thank God for you guys, just being a part of the We Are Us truly helped me to deal with what I was dealing with, just truly sharing my story. And because I say one thing, Cap, when you keep things in, it's just like a female walking around here pregnant, but never deliver. So when you're dealing with trauma, it's just like you want to birth it out, but you don't know when to birth it out. You don't know how to birth it out. So it's like you're not 9 months, you're like 10 months, because you're carrying this extra weight. So it's always best to share. It's always best to deliver. So once you deliver, you setting yourself free and you setting somebody else free. So what I would recommend is truly a true support system. Someone is going to understand, someone is going to listen to them regardless of how many times. And that's why I love you guys so much, because sometimes I have my moments. Sometimes, I may say things over and over, but that's the trauma that we deal with as mothers of losing their child, as mothers of sitting on that front row, seeing your child laying in that casket, and guess what? It's nothing that you can do, so I would recommend just continue to be that ear for that person, continue just to be their support, regardless of what time they need to reach out to you, so that's what I would the advice that I would give you as far as the support.
Thank you. That was very important. And I want to get Safari and Dr. Leaf on this, because we want to talk about Friday. And I want to personally thank the leaders that shared that information. I mean, we got a lot of good reports, a lot of good stuff in the chat room. I personally got about 4 or 5 pages of notes, and I can't wait to look at this again. I just want to say thank you to the panelists one more time. I want to say thank you to the Baltimore City Youth Fund. I want to say thank you to my partner in crime, Dr. Leaf, and Drake and Bilal, and then also the audience who stayed on the entire time and listened to you all give your expertise, your stories, your answers, your solutions, and some of the issues that we're dealing with every single day. And I just want to leave everybody with a few points leading up to Friday as well. But some of the things that I taken away from this is we have to love our girls no matter what their condition is. The sexual abuse is real. We got to get counseling and therapy for them. We have to, the relationships are important. We have to share our stories, and we must deal with the trauma and the mental health of our young girls. And we have to find a way to get them at an early age. And that was just some of the points that I took away, and we'll share them, of course, on Friday. But Dr. Phil, oh, thank you for posting it too, brother, to Friday. Dr. Phil. Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, and I think just re-emphasizing one of the things that you said and many of the women said, there's lots of programs out there that aren't really set up to support the women and the females or the trans. And it's not that, and so again, whether it's the Youth Fund or some of these other funding opportunities, or just people working together that are doing some of these things, that's really important. And in the chat room, I put in one, there's actually a program that's working with both women and men in prison or who are back from prison around helping them get careers. It was set out by somebody who at 21 actually went to prison for 10 years. He wound up getting a PhD. He worked at Hopkins for a while. He's now working at Howard University doing services and has over 100 people who have been in prison now on the pathway to careers, and he's working outside of Baltimore. So that link's in there. And then there's also a group that's also working with the trans population in Baltimore. So I put both of those links in there. And what we're going to be talking about on Friday is not just sort of what should get done, but how to work through those of you that are in the audience, as well as those who made presentations. How can we help you move to be in a position to get more funds, whether it's or to make connections with other organizations that you can be working with, because then nobody can do everything. And so the Friday session is really to help everybody, and please feel free to invite people. They don't have to have been on, that they're going to be posting the video, but they may not be able to watch it before Friday at 10 o'clock. But we certainly can have a discussion with them and with you on these issues about how to make sure that your proposals are stronger, or even helping just the networking. Many of the people that are here in the chat room, sort of, we're talking to each other. We want to help you network with each other more, to work with Baltimore Brothers, but to work with each of these women's groups, if that's relevant, so that you can be supporting them, they can be supporting you. So that's really the purpose of the Friday. It's really less to listen to people and really spend the time talking with each other, trying to help make the connections, help do the, help with some of the repetitions to think through some of these things so that people can be more effective with what they're doing now, or particularly if they're trying to write grants.
Thanks, Doc. And I have to thank the panelists one more time. And they'll be back on Friday, but I'm definitely, this has been for lack of a better word, explosive, awesome. This has been very fulfilling for me, and I learned so much. So I have to thank you all again. I know I said it earlier, but trust me, I know y'all helped a lot of people tonight. I'm hoping that, is the president still available? Miss Alicia, I seen her earlier. I seen her share a few words. Are you on, Miss Alicia? Is it anything you want to share to the team, the audience, or the panelists? And we would love to hear from you if possible.
Let me see if I can bring Alicia up. We'll do that. Boom. Welcome to the party. And you should be able to. All right. The floor is yours. Yes, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Good evening.
Awesome.
How you doing?
Hello, Captain Andrew. How are you?
I'm
Hello,
doing
Dr.
fine.
Lee.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I feel so full from this evening. So I just want to thank all of the presenters. Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Lee, and I'm the new president here at BCYF. I'm so glad that we have such a robust attendance tonight. Yes, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you came. You chose to be here with us. So we're so excited about that because we know that hearing the stories and the authenticity of the strategies and the messages tonight are going to create opportunities for transformation for young women here in Baltimore. I was also just really heartened to see so many messages, speaking of the work of Baltimore Safe Haven and the ways that we can support transgender youth as well. So there were so many wonderful topics tonight. I'm really leaving with the words of Frederick Douglass ringing in my ear. So thank you for bringing that into the space. We have to make sure that we're not investing in continuing to invest in a system that is prepared to just heal broken adults, right? How can we create transformation for our young people? And that's what BCYF is all about. And that's what Baltimore Brothers is all about. And so we're so glad that this collaboration is happening. I want to give a shout out to Aunt Lisa because she's a board member at BCYF. So we are so glad and proud and honored.
Hi.
Hey, Lisa. So
Hey,
honored to
beautiful
have her
queen.
as a part of our leadership structure and for her to share her story tonight was very powerful. So thank all of you for sharing so generously with us. And we look forward to seeing everyone on Friday that can make it. So we can ask questions, and those intimate settings on Fridays have really also been a strong place for transformation. Captain, you're doing amazing. This is an incredible series.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for we working directly with your staff. They've been awesome. It's a team effort, and I'm looking forward to the the end, so we can turn this into a curriculum, to a study. We've been getting a lot of great feedback, myself and Dr. Phil, outside of the meetings. So thank you to your staff and your team, and thank you for supporting us. That's we appreciate you.
Shout out to the BCYF staff. We have an incredible staff, super supportive, knowledgeable, right? Innovators, and they know exactly where to find folks like you, Captain Andrew, who are doing incredible work in our communities. And we have some board members here in attendance too. I saw Mr. Marcus is here, Marcus Pollock is here, and others. So greetings and welcome, and we hope to see you at more events as the weeks unfold. Thank you, Captain, for giving me some space.
Yes, please. You always welcome. I just want to share this last thing. Davon, we did a commercial last night at a studio, and Davon showed up on his own, representing your team, of course. And the young ladies, the leaders was up there, and they did an excellent job. And I'm gonna make sure you get it so you can take a look at it. It was live, but it was awesome. And
I can't wait to see it.
We fed the community on the topic of women and violence, and we stayed with that same tune. So I just wanted to give you some good news. We really put some effort into this subject matter, and we really striving to change the culture and the violence in our city through these women right here. So thank you as well, Ms. Lee. I appreciate you. Yeah. So Tafari, man, please close us out, bro. I know you got everything posted up there. Thank you for being patient with us, working with us. We appreciate you, bro. Go right ahead, Tafari.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And again, just want to say thank you so much to all of the panelists for having the courage to share your experiences, your work, your trials and tribulations. It's so easy oftentimes to do things and people show up and show you the finished product and tell you about how great it is. And they minimize the journey that got them there. And I just want to really celebrate each of you individually and all of you collectively for choosing to be where you are, choosing to engage in the work that you're doing. As Alicia said, as she came in, you all could have been anywhere else. Same with the panelists, you could have been anywhere else. And you chose to be here. And so as I remind folks again that Friday is the opportunity to go deeper, to workshop it out a little bit more as we take in, reflect, ask questions of ourselves and folks around us about the session. Come on Friday morning with a cup of coffee and your questions and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that we can continue because as we all are abundantly aware that the issues are not going to change just because we have tragedy. And the only thing that really resonates with me as I'm thinking about as we close out is the work of political prisoner, journalist, activist Mumia Abu-Jamal, who once wrote, if we say our youth are lost, it's our responsibility to go get them. And I want to say, thank you to y'all for making the choices to go and get our young people and our young sisters in particular. So thank you to the attendees, thank you to the panelists, And we hope you all enjoy your evening and look forward to seeing all of you on Friday and at future events. So please take care and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.
And
Thank
please
you.
share the videos. When the videos are out, share them with other folks. The more people that can see this, it's really powerful evening.
Don't forget about the survey either. Don't forget about the survey.
Yes.
Y'all were all
Well,
amazing.
thank you, guys. Yep.
Thank
Thank
y'all
you.
for the platform, Baltimore Brothers, Dr.
Yes,
Lee,
ma'am.
BCYF, my board
Yes.
members, team members. Thank y'all so much, ladies. Y'all were all incredible. Y'all all
Incredible.
inspired me.
Yeah.
I got something from each and every one of y'all.
Absolutely.
Y'all are all so beautiful. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all women. I'm telling y'all, thank y'all. Y'all feel
Amen.
me tonight. Yes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for letting me shed my
night.
little tears and give me a safe space. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
That's it. That's it.
I like
Yeah,
that.
but you
Thank
guys
you,
have a
Kat.
blessed one.
Kat, the
Good
man
night.
up in here. Kat, thank you for making this happen for us women, man.
Yes,
We
we
need more
appreciate
men
you.
like you that's gonna put these
Our big
platforms
brother.
out there for us women to have a space,
Yes.
a safe space to
Yes.
speak and to bring awareness into what's going on with us women. So thank you, Captain Andrew.
Yep.
Man, that's deep. Thank you.
We
I
appreciate you.
Welcome.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
brother from
Yes.
another mother. Yes,
Thank
yes,
you,
Thank
Brother
you.
Andrew.
y'all
wanna
great.
thank
I'm
you
great.
also when-
I'm great.
when
Start
women-
crying. Y'all, I gotta go. I'm great. Start crying. Let's get off of here.
All right,
No,
y'all.
seriously,
Good night.
thank
I'm
We
you.
love you guys. Y'all have a good night.
Love y'all.
Peace and
Bye.
blessings. All
Love
right.
Happy
y'all.
Friday. Bye.